The build-up to Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez is not the kind of boxing story built on manufactured rivalries or temporary hype. This is not a fight about padding records, protecting undefeated streaks, or chasing quick paydays before the clock runs out. This is about two fighters standing at the intersection of ambition and timing, where legacy is no longer something you talk about in interviews, but something you are forced to earn under the lights, with the world watching and nowhere to hide. For years, Shakur Stevenson has moved with a quiet certainty through boxing's upper tiers. Never loud, never desperate, never distracted by the noise that follows most rising stars. He has always known who he is, and more importantly, what he is. A technician first, a strategist always, and a fighter who sees the ring not as chaos but as a controlled environment where information is currency and mistakes are fatal. He doesn't chase moments. He manufactures them through discipline, timing, and an understanding of space that separates great boxers from merely talented ones. Stevenson has never framed his career around shortcuts. There has been no rush toward fame at the expense of growth, no desire to take the easy route when harder roads promised longer rewards. Every move has been deliberate, every opponent a step towards something bigger than a belt. He is chasing something that can't be bought or fast-tracked. Global recognition built on credibility, championship dominance earned through consistency, and a legacy defined by how completely he controls elite competition. This fight, against a man like Teofimo Lopez, represents the exact kind of test Stevenson has been preparing for since the beginning. Teofimo Lopez is a different force entirely. Where Stevenson thrives on precision and restraint, Lopez feeds on momentum and volatility. He is explosive, emotionally charged, and dangerous in ways that don't always show up on a stat sheet. Lopez doesn't just fight his opponent, he fights the moment, the energy in the arena, the expectations, and sometimes even himself. When everything aligns, he is capable of breathtaking brilliance, the kind that leaves crowds stunned and opponents questioning their own reality in the ring. Lopez has always believed he is the man in boxing, the one everyone else must measure themselves against. He has never been shy about it, never softened his confidence for public approval. To him, challenges are not threats, but opportunities to reinforce what he already believes to be true. When he looks at a matchup like this, he doesn't see risk. He sees validation waiting to be claimed. That mindset has fueled some of the most electric moments of his career. It has also contributed to turbulence, moments where discipline wavered and focus fractured under pressure. But those experiences have shaped him, hardened him, and forced him to evolve. The version of Teofimo Lopez entering this fight is not the reckless prodigy of years past, nor the inconsistent talent critics once questioned. This is a fighter who understands the cost of mistakes and the value of preparation, even if his style will always flirt with danger. The contrast between these two fighters is what makes this matchup so compelling. It is speed versus power, control versus chaos, calculation versus instinct. It is not simply about who punches harder or who moves faster. It is about whose philosophy survives 12 rounds when adjustments are no longer theoretical and consequences are immediate. Stevenson entered camp early, long before the promotional machine reached full volume. His preparation began at the foundation, reinforcing the fundamentals that drive elite performance. Footwork sharpened, timing refined, vision trained to remain calm and wide even as pressure mounts. Every drill had a purpose, every round of sparring designed not just to mimic Teofimo Lopez, but to prepare Stevenson to solve problems in real time. This was not routine preparation. This was strategic investment. Inside the gym, there was no wasted motion. Stevenson understands that early momentum often dictates championship outcomes. He knows that the first few rounds of a fight like this are not about dominance, but about information. Who reacts to feints? Who bites on traps? Who grows impatient? Every punch thrown in camp was a rehearsal for those moments, a data point stored away for fight night. There is a discipline to Stevenson's approach that borders on clinical. He does not train to survive chaos. He trains to eliminate it. His goal is not to overwhelm, but to neutralize. To slowly strip away an opponent's confidence by making them miss, making them hesitate, and making them question whether their strengths still exist under pressure. Against most fighters, that process is subtle. Against someone like Lopez, it becomes psychological warfare. The boxing world took notice as this matchup materialized. Veteran observers like Dan Rafael immediately labeled it what it is, a rare prime versus prime collision. Not a nostalgia bout, not a farewell tour. Two elite fighters, both 28 years old, both with years left at the top if they choose, meeting at a moment when legacy still has room to grow. These are the fights hardcore fans craved, the ones that feel meaningful before the first bell ever rings. There were questions, of course. Questions about excitement, about styles, about whether Stevenson's calculated approach would clash with Lopez's explosiveness in a way that thrilled or frustrated casual viewers. But those questions missed the point. At this level, excitement is not manufactured through reckless exchanges. It is built through tension, through the constant threat of a mistake that could change everything in an instant. Stevenson's team understood the stakes completely. This wasn't just about winning a fight, it was about positioning him as a global force, a marketable champion whose dominance could translate across streaming platforms, pay-per-view buys, and international audiences. Precision and discipline were not just tools for victory, they were brand builders. Every element of preparation was aligned with the idea that excellence creates its own momentum. That philosophy was on full display on July 12, 2025, when Stevenson stepped into Queen's Louis Armstrong Stadium and delivered a masterclass against William Zepeda. Over 12 rounds, he turned strategy into spectacle, dominating the fight without ever appearing rushed or reckless. The unanimous decision told only part of the story. What mattered more was how completely Stevenson controlled the narrative. How effortlessly he made a tough opponent look a step behind at all times. Observers ringside spoke about his vision. The way his eyes remained wide and calm, absorbing everything without panic. They talked about how difficult it was to give Zepeda more than a couple of rounds, about the privilege of watching a fighter operate at that level up close. That performance was not just a win, it was a signal. Stevenson was ready for the next chapter, and he was not interested in easing into it. Teofimo Lopez sent his own message earlier that year. On May 2, 2025, in New York, he faced Arnold Barboza Jr. and delivered a performance that reminded everyone why his name still carries weight. Defending his WBO and Ring Junior welterweight titles, Lopez showcased explosive speed, sharp reflexes, and a renewed sense of control. It was a chess match, not a brawl, and Lopez proved he could play that game too. That fight silenced doubts. It reminded fans that Lopez is not just power and bravado, but a fighter capable of patience and adaptability when the moment demands it. Watching two skilled boxers feel each other out, adjust, and counter was a testament to Lopez's growth. It also set the stage for what would come next. Because if Lopez could show discipline there, what would happen when he faced someone whose entire identity is built on it? The hype intensified when figures like Claressa Shields weighed in. Her analysis cut through promotional noise and landed on the core of the matchup. She acknowledged Lopez's athleticism, his championship experience, and his ability to change fights with a single moment. But she also issued a warning. Shakur Stevenson, she said, is a calculated nightmare. A fighter with elite ring IQ, adaptability, and growing knockout power, who stays several steps ahead even when the fight appears static. One lapse, she suggested, could flip everything. That truth applies to both men, but in different ways. For Lopez, a single overcommitment could open a door Stevenson has been training his entire life to exploit. For Stevenson, one misjudged angle or delayed reaction could give Lopez the opening he needs to turn precision into panic. This is the margin at which elite fights are decided. As fight night approaches, the boxing economy hums with anticipation. Sportsbooks adjust odds. Promoters plan narratives. Streaming platforms prepare for spikes in viewership. Fans debate endlessly, splitting along philosophical lines. Do you believe in control, in the idea that discipline and intelligence can neutralize raw power? Or do you trust chaos, the belief that explosiveness and instinct will always find a way through structure? This is not a fight remembered for a single punch, at least not initially. It is remembered for moments. Moments of composure when pressure peaks. Moments of courage when adjustments fail and instinct takes over. Moments when fighters reveal who they truly are, not through words, but through decisions made in fractions of a second. Can Shakur Stevenson impose his will through discipline and control? Turning the ring into a puzzle Lopez can't solve quickly enough. Or does Teofimo Lopez force the fight into uncomfortable territory, creating chaos where precision breaks down and power becomes destiny? These questions don't have answers until the bell rings and the